And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I don't know about you, but I'm a little fired up after hearing the new intro music. I don't know about
I
you,
am
man.
as well. I am as
That
well.
got me excited.
I mean, you can never replace some good beats. You can never replace a good intro. And it's a good job by you to getting that in there.
Thank
But
you.
yes, a really good, really firm intro. So congratulations. Good job.
It's not the only thing I'm fired up about, though, Blake.
What else are you fired up about?
I'm of course fired up for this final preview, this final prediction show that we're doing today, and I get to hype up my Fighting Irish as I've done the entire playoff run that they've been on. I can't wait for you to pick against it, by the way.
Okay, first off, calm down. If this were anybody else, you would pick Ohio State because you're a homer. You're picking.
Obviously.
So you need to calm down.
No, I'm not calming down.
There's already comments in the accusations right now.
I see them.
Sanders says we all know Blake is picking Ohio State in a blowout. I've never said that this game was going to be a blowout. Not once.
Well, okay, and you have even admitted to this on the show, but if LSU is in this situation, would you not be picking LSU?
LSU doesn't lose in national championship games, so unlike Notre Dame.
They've been to actually, they've been to more technically because when Notre Dame won all of theirs, it was back when it was handpicked by the AP. So I don't have a comeback.
Technically, Notre Dame has never won a national title where they had to play for it.
Don't frame it like that.
I mean,
they've had national championships that have been taken from them that should have gone to them in years where they have proven it. So they could have even more. So
and Alabama went 9-3 one year and won a national title under Bear Bryant. Is that really fair?
No.
Okay, so I mean, like, or maybe they were 10-2. I don't even remember, or 9-2, whatever it was. But no, they have never played for and won a national championship in a game like this. And they got to look. I mean, here's the God's honest truth: to take the next step of where they want to be, they have to win this game on Monday. That's the bottom line. Like they have to, because the national stereotype on Notre Dame is the same. They can get there. Can they get over the hump and win the thing? I think that's what everybody wants to know is, can they get over the hump? I don't think that's unfair thing to say.
I know that you're going to disagree with this. It is Marcus Freeman's third year. If they lose this game closely, I would argue that still does significant. That is a significant step in order for Notre Dame to return back to the prominence that Notre Dame fans have been fighting for. I don't think that they need to win the game. What do you mean, what prominence? The prominence they had in the early 90s all the way back until 1900. That's the prominence that I'm
you haven't won a national title since 1988. That's why I asked.
The teams go through long spurts of not winning national titles. LSU went from 1953 up until when was the first one?
1958.
1958 until when was the most recent one? 2002? Am I misremembering
2003.
that? Okay. So there's plenty of times where teams
they had to play for theirs.
I'm just saying that if Notre Dame has done a lot for their notoriety, and Marcus Freeman has been able to have been marketed a lot. I'm just saying that
that's not even the argument that I'm trying to make.
I know what you're saying, but
when Notre Dame loses, what is the national perspective going to be? It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. You know what, from a national landscape of what it is. Tell me that.
How they lose is important to have this conversation is what I'm trying to say to you right now.
It's not going to matter. This is what I'm trying to tell you. If they lose, okay, brother, people are ready to get on that bandwagon of getting on Notre Dame. Y'all have been getting the whole fan base has been getting on everybody, and they're going to come and seek their revenge. That is the truth. You know it, and I know it.
I'm not disagreeing with that aspect of things. I understand what you're trying to say here, but a lot of those people are wrong to immediately shit on Notre Dame for getting as far as they did. All I'm trying to get at here is,
what? They shouldn't. They're there. You're not.
Well, right. That's what I'm trying to say here to what your statement was, is that if Notre Dame loses this game close and they show that they fight and they play close and they lose it, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Notre Dame can win this game. Spoiler alert.
Win, but you didn't pick them to. You're not confident that they will win.
If they lose close, that does a lot for Notre Dame taking that next step of like actually winning the damn game. If they
That's exactly what I just said, and you argue with me. But there is going to be change regardless of what we believe or not in college football, Joe. With this fake injury rule that came out today, if a player fakes an injury, there's going to be penalties and consequences to that. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more about what this is? And then we'll go into the conversation of the fake injury that has been really plagued with college football and been a big topic of conversation and what seems to be coming to an end here, what college football is trying to do.
Yeah, first of all, this is proposed, and this is coming from the coaches convention that's happening, or the convention that's happening right now in Nashville, I believe, that this is a solution to what was widespread in the SEC. There was one specific team in the SEC that was doing this a lot.
I'll admit they are. Ole Miss.
Ole Miss did it, and then a lot of other teams around the country visibly were starting to do it. Every time a player would go down in any game, there was loud booing, which is kind of ridiculous and unjustified that was the result, that people are booing players who are injured and not on the field if they're actually hurt. But the intention here, it's less of a penalty, but more of a way to prevent it from happening. The idea, Blake, is if you are actually injured, you should not be allowed to return for the end of the drive. That's what it is. And that removes the incentive for coaches to say to their guys, go down. We need you to go down so that we can get a sub in, so we can get a pause, so we can get a beat, whatever they're trying to do to manipulate the time of the game. I think it's a good solution. I'm blanking on his name. The film guy who he follows both of us. He's been on your show, the Georgia guy. Why am I blanking on his name?
Brooks Austin.
Brooks Austin was one of the first people that I've seen propose this. So I think it's a brilliant idea that this is that this is a potential fix for it.
All right. I agree with that being a very interesting thing to do. However, you've played the game and I've played the game. Joe, like, what if somebody accidentally gets hit in the balls?
It's got to come out and drive.
I mean, bullshit. That's you're penalizing everybody for what an egregious thing can happen in a very physical game, right? Like, Ole Miss took this to another level, but there are probably 130 other teams that aren't doing this, and you're changing this based off of what one team has done, right? Here's what they really need to do, okay? They have video review. If a player just drastically goes down, throw the flag. I don't like the whole you come out of a drive thing, because there are situations where, for an example, like there's a collision and you run in with you use your shoulder to tackle somebody. You get banged up. You shake it off, you out of play it too, and you can come back in, you're fine, you're ready to go. That's BS to sit out the entire drive. Okay,
hold on. First of all, throwing a flag is – you can't have the ref trying to make that decision in the middle of a play.
No,
he's not
I'm
a doctor.
Asking a ref to do it. You have booth review. The thing that came up today in the coaches' convention, the example used is when Lane is telling a guy to go down and a guy goes down. That's the example that you used.
We can't be using official. That's such a waste of resources and focus from officials.
They review every play.
Yeah, but to then review the sideline to determine if there was some sort of signaling.
You're not doing that. You're determining when the player went down, right? Like if he went down and it's a real injury based off a coach telling him to go down. You're telling a kid to come out for an entire drive. The ramifications of this would be something like this. Let me give an example. I was going to use Xavier Watts, but let's use Caleb Downs. I don't want to get anybody's panties in a wad. Let's say Caleb Downs hits somebody with his shoulder and he gets a little banged up. National championship game on the line. That happens in play 2 of a drive. Do you want arguably the best safety in the game to have to sit out the entire drive in a crucial situation like that? It's an overreaction to one team's misrepresentation of what all other teams are doing, Joe. I'm sorry. We're saying we're going to outlaw drinking because one guy drove drunk. That's exactly what we're doing.
But I don't see it as this. I see as
how many teams are doing outside of Ole Miss that you see?
I don't know. I haven't kept track of this, but there's been one blatant example, and it was rampant across the SEC as a counter reaction to Ole Miss because they were pissed off at Lane for doing it, is what it seemed like. So what I'm trying to get at here is that if you just allowed nothing to happen, then it's going to run rampant. I know. It's going to run rampant. I think that it is too hard to determine with official review if a player is doing that or not, and if they're actually going down or not. I understand your argument. I don't completely disagree with the premise that you're presenting here, but the problem that I come away with is that if you're really hurt and you go down and you're sitting down and you have to come off the field and a trainer has to come off the field, you shouldn't be able to go back in a couple of plays. If it's just a little pop and you feel like you're hurt and you're able to get up and run off the field, go back in. But if you go down and trainers have to come on in the field and you have to go to the sideline, realistically, if you're actually hurt, you're not going right back in.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Remember last week when Xavier Watts went in the tent for a concussion protocol, but came back in the game because he got cleared? I'm pretty sure it was a concussion protocol. Oh, no.
I don't remember that because
even if it's not Xavier Watts, we can use Riley Leonard, right? Like, regardless of who it is.
Well, he didn't come back in on that drive, though.
Okay. I mean, regardless, Xavier Watts in the last game versus Penn State went in the tent and then came back and went in the drive and had a tackle on Singleton that lined them up to having to kick a field goal. My whole thing in this is it's a complete overreaction, in my humble opinion, to what football just is.
I would argue the overreaction would be using.
Hold on. What you could do, if you're going to do the drive thing, you can determine during a commercial break when you have 5 minutes of commercial break to determine if the player went down because a coach told him to go down. And you can signal to the referees to keep him out for a further drive. I think it's ill-advised to say that every player, because, Joe, guys get the wind knocked out of them.
I get that. Here's a better solution. There's a much better solution. 5 plays. Players come out for 5 plays. No, because if you're actually hurt, 5 plays, and even if you get the wind knocked out of you, 5 plays is an appropriate amount of time. And also, look, there's another angle of this outside of the cheating part. It's a good argument for player safety. If guys are actually hurt, they're not coming back onto the field. That's my problem with it. The whole argument that you're making.
Sport's so soft.
It's not making the sport soft. Lane shouldn't have fucking cheated. That's the whole point. Lane shouldn't have cheated.
But again, you're telling the entirety of everybody else that they can't drink because one guy drove drunk. That is essentially what you're doing.
But it's because more extreme than that. It's more
extreme
than that.
Joe, I asked you, and I'll ask you again. You brought up one instance in one team. I'm asking you to start pointing out the other ones.
It hasn't been around long enough for this to become something.
Joe, this has been a thing. Bullshit. This was a thing in 2011 when LSU played in a national title game. That BS. I'm not buying that. This has been a conversation for a long time. Lane had offensive players that were doing it at Bama too. I do not want to hear that. This was happening in 14 too. I remember vivid plays of when Lane was at Bama that this was happening. So I get what you're saying. An entire drive is a little egregious.
I just think that to wrap this up, because so we don't get stuck on this for too long. I think that it is extremely rare that guys that go down, like we're not talking about like if you get popped and you feel a little off and you got to run to the sideline. That's not what this is. You go down on the ground and the trainer has to come over to you and a coach has to come over to you to check on you and to help you get off the field, which is what was required to slow the game down in these situations. I think it's very rare that a guy is ready to come back onto the field. I feel like that does not happen often in the sport.
You say that now, but your team's about to play for a national championship on Monday. And God forbid that this rule was in there. Don't shrug your shoulders, because you would be everybody would be screaming from the rafters if a guy just got nicked up and got banged up because he's playing a violent sport and a game is on the line and that they cannot return.
I'd be yelling at Kiffin. I wouldn't be yelling at the officials. I'd be like, thanks, Lane.
This isn't on Kiffin at this point for this reason alone. Kiffin's not changing the rule. And this is why you need a commissioner. Because there's no way in hell that Nick Saban would allow that to happen. No way. It's too egregious. I'm telling you,
he would increase cheating probably if it was Nick.
Well, the South will rise again. Okay. Let's do this. We do have a couple of super chats here. Elks with a $5 super chat says, Joe, I'm sorry, Buckeyes by 14 at least. We won't have DBs just falling over like Penn State. Our front six can stop the run and make Leonard throw.
Elks, did we watch the same Cotton Bowl? Like, did we watch the same Ohio State-Michigan game? 14 points is a lot. Come on.
In fairness, I don't think you're giving Texas enough credit for how good they are defensively.
Sure.
I also don't think, looking at it, and we're going to talk about this literally out of the break, so I'm just going to say it like this. Yeah. I also don't think that Notre Dame has come close to seeing a receiving core like this either. They have not seen a passing attack like this all year either.
Obviously, all I'm saying, though, in reaction to this, 14 points feels like a lot. I don't think that there is that much of a separation of talent. Ohio State's the better team. Don't disagree with that. I think just, though, the current version of college football, that there is a much closer window to how talented these two teams are, and there's a way that Notre Dame keeps it close.
Elks also says with a $2 super chat, also, we don't have G5 level receivers. Have fun covering.
Well, Penn State just had a receiver enter the portal that is getting a lot of attention. I'm blanking on his name.
Harrison Wallace.
It's not Amari Evans. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But
no, it's not Amari Evans. Harrison Wallace is going to Louisville, and he's taking a trip to Texas A&M.
So, I mean, they had guys just –
The kid won't play at A&M, and he won't play at Louisville.
All right.
Okay. All right. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook. Share to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, and wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Joe, let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. When we come back, we give our game picks on the national championship, the last game pick of the year. We will have a new – I got to play around with, pause, a new Roadcaster, the Roadcaster 2. That thing is absolutely insane. Our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital have very insane.
Wait, what anything what's new on it? Anything cool?
The record button for audio, the audio, they have more buttons, they have better gains and frequencies for audio. So anybody out there doing podcasts, y'all need to look into the Roadcaster. All right, Joe, it is time. The national championship game is here. We have somewhat made our picks, but we haven't officially made our picks. And the time is now. The time is here. Here it is. The national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Joe is going with Notre Dame, and I am going with Ohio State. These are our final standings here. Joe, congratulations on a very good year.
Yes.
But one of us are going to be right, and one of us is going to be wrong. But this is the national title game. Why are you picking the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? And I will tell why I'm picking the Ohio State Buckeyes.
As stated in the open, Ohio State fans, I'm understanding of the matchup here. I'm understanding that this is a difficult game. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I've been picking them the entire way. I'm not gonna push myself off this spot just because Ohio State's a formidable opponent. This is not 2012. This is not 2021 when they got smoked by Alabama for the second time. There is a capable opportunity here, I think, for Notre Dame to win this game. The way that they've been playing, to some of the weaknesses that Ohio State showed against Texas, it is accomplishable. I think one of the biggest parts that I didn't bring up in the preview that I want to bring up here again, or to bring up and acknowledge here. Anthony Knapp's out for this game, starting left tackle. He was a true freshman, and he was filling in for Charles Jagasaw, who was the originally projected starting left tackle. A lot of people thought that he was going to be a future All-American. A lot of people believe that he is the next top 10 pick Notre Dame offensive lineman. Anyone who was paying attention and watched that game and broke it down afterwards knows that Jagasaw stepped in the Orange Bowl. And when he stepped in, that was at right guard. That was the biggest catalyst for Notre Dame's run game producing on that first drive of the third quarter where they scored. Look at where a lot of those runs came from. They came right behind Charles Jagasaw. So I think that with Jagasaw plugging in at left tackle, assuming that Spindler's good to go, Tosh Baker might play left tackle and Jagasaw might play right guard, I think that as Ohio State fans have been trying to hype this up as their offensive line's banged up, they're screwed. This is not your typical offensive line injury situation. This is not like what Ohio State went through at the beginning of the year when they lost, or at the middle of the year when they lost Seth McLaughlin and Josh Simmons. Notre Dame's depth is a lot better than Ohio State's. Notre Dame's offensive line recruiting is a lot better. I think that that is a very, very underrated portion of this game that is going to help Notre Dame potentially win it. That's the path: running the ball, creating and winning in short areas, and then playing really sound coverage on Jeremiah Smith. If there is a team that has the secondary like what Texas has, and to be able to replicate that game plan, it's Notre Dame. Is there a world where Notre Dame looks lost and they can't keep up with them? Absolutely. I'm not sitting here saying that guaranteed that Notre Dame wins this ball game, but as a Notre Dame fan with a lot of Notre Dame listeners, I am simply making my case and pleading my case that there is more of a realistic shot than anyone wants to admit.
I do think that there's a realistic shot that they can win because we have seen Notre Dame clip twice, and Ohio State clip twice.
Mm.
And I think in the back of your mind, you have to always think, does the team that showed up against Michigan show up again? And I think that that is what is in the back of the minds of everybody. It's like, well, if you toy around and you don't do things on third down like you did against Texas and like you did against Michigan, and you continue to beat your head in the wall in some instances, you're going to lose this game. However, there are three things of why I can listen, hear, and understand the argument for either team. Where, Joe, I start getting to a place where I lean Ohio State is that I've told you this regardless if it was Notre Dame or not. What do I always do? I lean the team. If everything else is even, I'm going to lean on quarterback. I'm going to lean on coaching staff. I do think, for what it's worth, both coaching staffs are pretty even for it being all told. I think they're both extremely good. I just feel like that the attack and what Will Howard can give you is going to put them over the top. I do think that there are going to be situations where Riley Leonard's going to have to throw the football, and he's going to have to do the same thing that he did against Penn State. Joe, the God's honest truth is you getting 7 third-down conversions in the second half win you the football game. I don't know if you can do that against the best defense in the country. I don't. I look at Ohio State, and I look at what they've done all year. Joe, they're number one in total defense. They're number one in scoring defense. Now, you can't say much about Notre Dame. They're number 2 in scoring defense, and they're number 4 in total defense. Their defense has been really good all year too. But, man, I think that they just have too much offensively, if I'm being honest. I don't know if Notre Dame can stop them on the perimeter. That's the biggest question mark that I have coming into this game. Even though Singleton and Allen did not break off massive long runs, Joe, they can consistently give you 7 yards a pop. And that is the thing that I look at this and say, I feel like that you've seen a running back duo literally in Notre Dame's last game that could hit the perimeter. I think that Henderson, I think that Judkins are big deals here. And quite frankly, I think if Notre Dame were going to win this game, they're going to have to play massive amounts of ball control and keep the ball away. And they certainly can do that. I'm not saying that they can't. They 100% can do that. But, man, if this game gets the magic number for me in this game is 28 for Ohio State. I think if you get there, you win. It's over. Because I don't
disagree with that, actually. I mean, that's
if Ohio State gets to that number, hell, Joe, if I'm going to be honest with you, if they get anywhere over 24, I think it could be over. If you get there, that's a little much. I'm with you.
Yeah,
if they get to 28, I think it's over. I just think that they have too much for you to stop. But as I've been telling you all year, in the discussion that we've been having all year, we make so much about them offensively. Every time we talk about Ohio State, it's offense, 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 offense. Joe, we never, like from a national media perspective, from everybody that you hear talking about keys to victory for Ohio State, they may slightly mention them defensively. Big dog, I saw you go up against a really good defense in Georgia, okay, and you scored 7 offensive points. And by the way, you started the drive at your own 10-yard line, or their 10-yard line. That is what generated you that score. You had to kick field goals in other instances. The kick return and the field goals were the other scores. You're facing a defense that has that level of talent. That to me is, I don't think Ohio State, Georgia can't score. You're facing the same talented type of defense that, quite frankly, you don't think Ohio State has got the same amount of talent as Georgia?
Wait. No, they do. Ohio State's definitely more offensively talented than Georgia. One, Notre Dame was still able to produce and move the ball in important situations where they were playing ball control, where their defense stepped up and made big plays.
Sure.
I don't think, though, I think what's most important here, Georgia still, like, to say that Georgia's offense couldn't score, I don't think that is good framing, because
they literally couldn't score.
But framing it like that downplays the quality of defensive performance that Notre Dame had. Like, Notre Dame had a really good defensive game. I think it's more the result of Notre Dame's defense stepped up and made game-shifting plays. They weren't luck. It wasn't like ball tipped up into the air or Gunnar Stockton shits his pants and throws a bad interception like he did in the SEC championship game. There were legitimate opportunities that were created by special teams and by defense.
And you only score, and with a team that in the second half that got past the 50-yard line once, you scored 0 points. You can't, Joe. You cannot convince me at the current moment that that's not a big deal.
It obviously is, but in the
if I told you that any game in the playoff that Notre Dame offensively would get blanked from scoring touchdowns, I know you well enough to say that you think that they're going to lose. I know you would.
Well, but they didn't get blanked from scoring touchdowns. They had
a kick return for a touchdown.
But they had a Bo Collins touchdown right before the halftime, which, yes, was from the 10-yard line.
From their own 10-yard line. I mean, like, I get what I understand what you're saying. I think that this is going to be a different level of team overall that you're seeing. If you're going to win, you better play 3 yards in a cloud of dust and hold on to that football.
But that's what Notre Dame has done. Notre Dame has done.
Well, then it comes to the next question. Can you do that?
Yes, Notre Dame has done that successfully and did it against Georgia. They did it against Penn
Ohio
State.
State. They haven't.
I don't like the way that you're making Ohio State out to be this unstoppable force. They're not undefeated.
I literally started this whole segment off by saying that the Michigan thing can happen. So Notre Dame can win. But I also have not seen, in all fairness, Notre Dame face a team that is as complete as Ohio State.
But, okay, I don't love fully framing it as them being complete, because against Texas, we saw some of their major deficiencies, which was their offensive line that was banged up, came back down to earth after having back-to-back really good games. They were allowing a lot of pressures. Their defense gave up a ton of big gains to running backs out of the backfield, which is something that Notre Dame does really well. They're a really well-rounded team. They're a really good team, but they're streaky at times. And being complete, I just think is something that we should reserve for discussing.
Okay, fair. They're the most talented team that you've seen the last 2 years. Even Ohio State from last year.
Sure. I just don't think that there is much of a separation gap to think that, to make it seem like that the Georgia game isn't enough evidence. I would argue that the Georgia game is evidence to believe that Notre Dame can win the game. Again, there was no luck.
I'm in the opposite camp.
There was no luck involved in that game. That was
there is a little. Okay, I've given you a lot, and I have. You went up against a kid in his first start in a playoff game. Now, like people get mad at you when you say.
But we said on this show, and Georgia fans ate it up.
We were wrong.
We were wrong.
We were clearly wrong
for weeks. The national media ate it up for weeks, saying that Gunnar Stockton was better.
It doesn't matter what we said before the game when we're wrong when the game got played.
We weren't wrong, though. If Carson Beck starts, he also plays poorly.
Yeah, but
that's a game where he throws 3 picks.
Carson Beck gives them the better chance to win.
I think Carson Beck would have had more turnovers than Gunnar Stockton did.
Well,
that game.
That doesn't prove the point because they scored – the more times that he scored or he threw 3 touchdowns, they scored more points.
Look, to get back to what we're talking about with this game.
They're going down. Notre Dame's going down.
This is obviously the hardest offensive matchup that they've seen. Notre Dame has found the one of the reasons why I have faith, and I think why Notre Dame fans have faith, is that in the past, they have, and I'm talking under Marcus Freeman, no other era, when they have gone down and they have seen really difficult situations, they have folded. This is a game where they totally could go down by 10 points. They could go down by 14 points, and everybody could be calling Notre Dame frauds and calling for them to be, that they didn't deserve to be there. Well, they have shown an ability to bounce back and to snap back and to make adjustments. I would go as far as to argue that I think that Notre Dame is the better second half adjustment team. And we saw last week that Ohio State did not make apt halftime adjustments. If anything, it was Texas who outcoached them at halftime. And if it wasn't for that strip sack, the game would have ended up completely differently. I'm not going to play that if situation.
Well, I mean, you can't play the if scenario. And again, y'all are putting too much down on Texas to the level of
I'm not putting anything down on Texas. I'm saying
beating Texas by 14 with the level of talent that they have at edge is a big deal. And there is
wait. But beating them by 14, we both know that game was extremely close. It was about to be a tied ball game.
Oh, okay. Well, then if I'm gonna give you that, then you're gonna give me USC versus Notre Dame. Because
they struggled.
Did they struggle? And it's against the best receiving core that they saw. When I look at the USC game, I got Jaden Maiava going 27 of 48 for 360 and three passing touchdowns.
We've talked about this. That was a bunch of garbage time yards that he produced.
Joe, you can't do that. You can't.
Yes, I can. No, I watched the game. They were down multiple scores.
Joe, you can't. No, they weren't. He throws an interception, and they're down by 7. By the way, I'm looking at the play sheet. You can go look at it right now if you want to. There's 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and they're down by 7 in the red zone. You cannot hold on. You cannot tell me that Christian Gray, whose interception is a touchback, when they're down 7, is the game not close in the fourth quarter. That's bullshit.
No, but after that, they get a pick 6, and then they're throwing on every single play for 2 straight drives.
Sure,
they got down in the red zone on 2 straight drives.
But you cannot ignore the fact that you had a team that was 7-5 and the best passing offense that you saw. Lemon, 9 catches, 133 yards. Deuce Robinson, 63 yards. Zachariah Branch, 4 catches, 45 yards. They threw it all over you. And what people are trying to say, and when Notre Dame fans get, just being honest with you, so pissed off, this and this and this and this was happening. Bullshit. It was the best offensive team from a wide receiver core that you saw, and they threw it all over you.
We need to wait. But the problem is we're bringing up the context of those stats. That's why we're countering. There's context.
And the context of Texas is you have literally one of the better blue chip ratio teams with arguably 2 All-American edges that are going off. It doesn't matter. Texas could not get over their own hump, and that's what they have to do. But you cannot convince me that they don't have the same level of talent. And something that you haven't even brought up either.
Wait. Who doesn't have the same level of talent? What are you saying?
USC does not have the same level of talent as Texas does.
No, they don't. It was rivalry weekend. I just think that is not a quality example.
Okay, well then I'm going to just say it like this: you haven't played anybody with that level of dude on the outside of them. Is that fair?
That's completely fine to bring up. And they're going to give up big plays. They're going to give up big plays to Emeka Ibuka. They're going to give up big plays to Trevion Henderson. But the thing that I can trust is that what they have faced a lot of quarterbacks throughout this stretch that have a lot of talent but are mistake prone.
Okay,
Will Howard.
Can you name them?
Yeah, Drew Aller, Gunnar Stockton, Curtis Rourke, all guys that were really productive this year. Curtis Rourke is going to go way earlier than you expect in this upcoming draft. Drew Aller, we've talked about as a future top 10 pick.
And it will be stupid.
Gunnar Stockton is still a quality starter, and next year we're going to be talking about him.
Joe, he's literally about to get benched for Puglisi.
Like, the point I'm trying to get at here, and that I was trying to say before you cut me off, they have forced turnovers despite giving up big plays. You just brought up the game that Maeva had. I don't give a shit about the fact that he gave up 360 yards because he so desperately had to get back into the game because he threw 2 pick sixes. Notre Dame scored 2 times on defense. They're not just winning off of turnover luck. They're winning off of turnover production. They're one of the few teams in the country that can say
one
that.
One of the pick sixes did not come on Maeva. It came on the tight end.
We debunked this.
Joe, I'm literally looking at it. You can go look at it yourself.
I remember watching the game. It wasn't a tight end who threw it.
Jake Jensen's the guy who threw it.
Where are you looking at that?
I literally type this in. I want you to go to Notre Dame versus USC box score. And it's going to be a box score right there. And I want you to click on it.
I watched this game, and you're making a play up that didn't happen. No, I was watching the game. I remember the interceptions.
I don't know what you're talking about. Unless ESPN is wrong, unless this box score from Google is wrong, then I don't know.
I'm pulling it up. They did get an interception off of a tight end, but it was not one of the 2.
So you're saying he had 2 picks? He didn't have 2 picks. He scored 5 total touchdowns on your ass. You had a first-time starter with the best receiving core that you saw all year, and he scored 5 touchdowns.
Again, the context of getting
boy, y'all
look. We all know Notre Dame.
Give a shit right now.
Notre Dame fans know that if you're going to find a way to prove that they're going to, you let in like you were going to make it seem like they could play close, but it seems like you think they're going to get their asses kicked.
I do think it's going to be around a 7 to 10 point ball game. I think at the end the talent's going to separate.
All right.
What do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be a 7 to 10 point ball game. I think
I think it's
going to be a 3-point game. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I don't know why I said that. I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
It's not going to be a 3-point game. You want to bet the line? I'll bet you right now.
What do you want to bet?
You're giving me 3 points? You're picking them to win, so you want to give me...
No, because I'm trying to think... No. That doesn't add up.
No. You said Notre Dame is going to win. And they're going to win by 3.
But I get plus odds on this. Yeah, but I get plus odds on this because the line right now is 8.5.
Bullshit. You think that they're wrong. Then you should give me the line that you think.
We're not doing this.
Give me Ohio State plus 3. You feel about it so good. Give it to me.
No, minus 3. It would be minus 3. No, because
you think Notre Dame's going to win. Do you not?
I do think that Notre Dame's going to win. Okay. I'm not giving you Ohio State plus 3. No. What the fuck? No.
You have that much confidence in them? Do you not?
No. You're trying to mind game me.
You don't have confidence in Notre Dame right now.
Don't try to mind game me with this. No,
you're the one that doesn't have faith in your own team.
I have faith in my team. You're trying to screw with me right now. Plus 3 for Ohio State? That's not what I said.
All right, well then give me Ohio State minus 3 then.
But that still doesn't I'm saying that it's going to be.
You have no faith in your own team that they.
I have faith in the team, but you don't just set the line at 3 in that situation. It should be 5.
You literally dictated it. You said that you thought Notre Dame was going to win by 3. Well,
that's not what I said. I said it's going to be a 3-point game. I said that the winner is going to be within 3 points. That's what I'm saying.
Boy, you put somebody's money on the line and they start crawfishing like a sonbit.
Yeah, because you got something really favorable. Yeah, you want an Ohio State plus 3. You were trying to manipulate the situation.
I would put my mortgage down for Ohio State plus 3.
Oh man. All right, let's get to Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers is declared for the draft, but Joe, there are some pundits out there that still believe that he could pull a Cam Ward and technically go into the portal and go somewhere else. But it's a new day in Texas, regardless of what Quinn Ewers does. It's Arch Manning's time. But your thoughts about Quinn Ewers going into the draft and it being Manning time?
Yeah, first of all the unsubstantiated rumors of him entering the portal, they were all BS. I said this on the show. From what I heard,
for now, I'm going to continue to caution you.
He made a public declaration, and also the deadline is at the end of the week. I might have even. I'm going to look
on Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
I don't know if that's right. I'm going to look that up in a quick second. But
Andy Staples at On 3 said it was next Tuesday. If we're wrong, go get him.
So the reason why I'm saying that that's off is because next Tuesday is the deadline for guys that are playing in the national championship. But
he's a graduate. He can be a grad transfer at any time.
No, No,
It
but
can.
no. But if you declare for the draft, that's not how.
Well, then how did Cam Ward do it?
Wait 1 second. I have it in front of me.
Cam
January,
Ward literally did it.
January, but he didn't do it off of the. I don't remember the exact dates.
Doesn't matter. Continue.
Okay,
on.
all right, yeah, we're getting distracted. Blake, him declaring for the draft is best for him. It's best for Texas. I don't think that there was much more that Quinn Ewers was going to do to like really help himself. We know that what he is as a player. We know that the internal clock does not always tick the right way. The decision making always tends to catch up to him at a certain point. Gifted guy, he's got a big arm. We know that there's a possibility maybe he could succeed in the NFL, but I think that we have seen enough to know that it was time to move on. Texas obviously didn't want to try this one more time. They definitely told him, hey, it's time for Arch, because they don't want to lose Arch Manning for one more year of a rental of Quinn Ewers to fumble away a chance at going to a national championship. And I don't think many teams out there, as much as many could have been interested in Quinn Ewers, I don't think many of them would have been willing to really dish out a lot of money for the asking price that he would have been looking for.
I think that this is the best thing, as you said, for both parties. I think it's best for Quinn Ewers. I think it's more better for Texas. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to have tons of success in the NFL. I really don't. He's a poor decision maker. It's going to take years for him to develop even more going into the NFL. I agree with you that he has some talent, and I think that he is a backup NFL quarterback and can be one for a long time. But I also, Joe, I mean, how many more snaps do we need to see of the young man to know that he's going to make crucial mistakes?
Right.
I mean, he's got over or damn near 1,000 passing attempts. What else do we need to see? So and I'm not even blaming. And I think the last play for him is very bad in this sense. I don't think that that's all on him. Turning the ball over is on him, but his right tackle getting obliterated is not on him. I do think that I think Texas is interesting. Dude, they're losing a lot of pieces offensively. Quinn Ewers being one of them. Now, one thing is for sure. I mean, Sark trusted it any more than he trusted Arch at that given moment. I mean, you can't ignore that. You can't deny that. But there's a lot of things that I do think that we don't give Quinn Ewers the benefit of the doubt on. Let me explain. Joe, they could not run the football.
That's fair.
They put everything on him. And so the one break and the one thing that I'm going to give him is it was all on him for them to win. And it happened every week, every game. Every game pretty much came down to, especially in conference play and in the playoffs, Quinn Ewers had to make special plays. And we forget about that because it's Texas. The kid can make unreal, ungodly throws. We've seen that. The thing that he's going to have to overcome is, can he make right decisions? And regardless if he comes back or college, if he even can come back, I don't even know anymore. We'll figure all that out. That's the biggest thing for him. I don't think it's necessarily talent. I just think that he just makes ultimately bad decisions.
The original deadline was January 6th, but there's special eligibility that runs up until January 24th for players that participated in the playoff and in the national championship game. So I just would find it hard to believe, though, because Cam Ward was a completely different circumstance. Cam Ward was not in the playoff, and he declared. So maybe there's some missing rule that I'm not seeing here, but I don't think that he's going to change.
The only reason I remember that is because Cam Ward literally did the same exact thing. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, but he just did it a lot earlier. It was a lot different.
He did go that's what I'm about to say. He did go in the portal a lot earlier. But his team was also not in the playoffs either. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
He's just not going to be at Texas.
I was just trying to clarify that
Texas has got a lot of pieces that they're missing. I know we talked a lot about them last show. Man, a lot of people are leaving. It's going to be Texas is losing a lot, man.
I'm still kind of high on them. I think that
we all know.
Not to be super negative about Texas, or about Quinn Ewers. I just think that he was part of what was slightly holding them back. Man, there's guys at so many programs that have make special plays and helped them reach special new heights. And he did that. He helped them accomplish that. They got to an SEC championship game. They got to the college football playoff. They were able to beat all the beatable teams on their schedule. But you need the truly gifted guys that have that gamer mentality to step up to the occasion instead of the opposite. And sadly for Quinn Ewers, whenever there was that really important big game situation outside of the one Alabama game, that win that he had, it never really came to fruition. Sure, people want to go like, oh, well, they dominated Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about two games against Georgia. I'm talking about the way they played against Washington last year. I'm talking about this game that he just had against Ohio State.
Arizona State.
And Arizona State. He struggled in that game too.
He struggled in that game and situations too.
Yeah.
I mean, he can make unreal plays and unreal throws. He's just going to always find ways to mess some things up too. Speaking of quarterbacks, Joe, it was reported today, I forget by whom.
On three.
On three, okay.
Yeah.
So On Three reported that Carson Beck, when he entered the portal, that Georgia did want him to come back, which I do think is interesting. But there was another team when he entered the portal that really made a push for them, that being the Alabama Crimson Tide. That is very interesting. I guess your thoughts on that.
I think that this is not a total red flag, but I definitely think that it is a concern if you're an Alabama fan to be thinking, why wouldn't we trust Ty Thompson? He's been there for a while now. Why would we be Ty Simpson? Ty Thompson is a different quarterback. Why wouldn't we trust too many ties of random obscurity? Why wouldn't we trust Ty Simpson? Why wouldn't we trust the rest of the depth of some of these young guys that we have on this roster? What are we missing here? What is Kalen DeBoer seeing that he thinks that he needs one more year of another guy to step in that's experienced? Carson Beck's a good player. We talked about the potential there for him to reinvigorate his draft stock. We talked about the capability for Miami to be one of the best teams in the ACC next year. But I don't know if he really takes you over the top if you're Alabama. For them to pick up the phone and to have interest in him and to reach out to him, to me, it screams a little bit of desperation. I would start to look and monitor very closely to how things go during spring ball. I'm telling you right now, Blake, just like we hyped up Jalen Milroe, I am going to be very locked in on what happens during the spring and during their spring game. If they look shaky, we are going to have a lot to talk about.
I won't go that far yet because they do have Austin Mack. They do have Ty Simpson. And I do think that they both fit much better than what Jalen Milroe did and what Kalen DeBoer and company wanted to do. Joe, they're going to have a new OC. Like, your boy in Seattle got fired. I don't know if he comes down.
They should bring him back.
They should bring him back. Here's the thing. I think that when I first saw this, my instant thought was, you think that Carson Beck is better than Ty Simpson and Austin Mack. Okay. It's a bridge to Keelan Russell, the number 2 quarterback in the country, 5-star out of Duncanville. I think that this was their way to bridge. I fully do. But, Joe, I think when we read reports like this, I think people would be very astonished to find out how many times kids are being reached out to have conversations and see what they're thinking. Right? Like, hey, man, what does it cost for you? I mean, like, just based off of people that I talk to in the recruiting world, especially when it comes to the portal. Joe, there are so many guys that these coaches talk to on a daily basis that are in the portal to get a feel. Hey, what do they trying to see what about what football, all they know, like what is the price that they're going for so that they can gauge things. Contacting a kid is not necessarily saying that Ty Simpson and Austin Mack can't play, right? Like, I mean, you're contacting a kid, right? Like, I mean, you're contacting a kid, by the way, that quite frankly has led his team to back-to-back SEC championship games.
Yeah, it's recognizable and that's understandable. The talent is definitely there, and it's something that we have lauded. But what I'm like trying to get at
by the way, obliterated Alabama in the second half. Carson Beck obliterated Alabama in the second half.
I would just argue that, and this is extra level thinking, and maybe it's not, it's a little defeatist. If I'm Kalen DeBoer, bringing in Carson Beck, and if Carson Beck doesn't work and he doesn't play up to expectation, and they have the same record and they go 9-3, God forbid they go 8-4.
Well, 9-4, but yeah.
Oh yeah, because they lost the bowl game. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Say they replicate their success with Carson Beck, that sparks an even bigger fire for Alabama fans to express their frustration that he is not producing results. Inversely, You do that with Austin Mack or you do it with Ty Simpson and Keelan Russell's on the bench, you get to build yourself a little bit of a buffer. You go 9-3 with a guy who hasn't started before. You can make the argument of like, because the problem here with Jalen Milroe this past year, I think the biggest frustration was, hey, we were expecting this kid to take a
horrible
huge
decision maker.
Well, they were expecting this kid to take a huge step forward, and he did for the first half of the year, and then he regressed to his mean and then kind of came back down to baseline. That was where the frustration came in, is because why couldn't you get him to improve to help this team take that next step? It was the biggest reason why they lost against Oklahoma was how he played. So you would get a little bit of a buffer, I would think, just from the administration to be like, hey, man, we just brought in a supremely talented quarterback prospect that's going to start next year. Just because we went 9-3 with Ty Simpson or Austin Mack doesn't mean that it's a sign of what's to come. It's just another step in the process. Very rarely are coaches able to like really hit their stride in year two. I think we're going to be 10-2 regardless. I just think that it's a little worrying. It's just a tiny bit worrying.
They got to go to Georgia in week 4, I think.
What else? Do they have anything else crazy on their schedule?
I think they have Auburn always. I think LSU comes to town. I wonder who they play out of conference. I do not know.
Florida State. They go to Florida State.
Wow.
Eastern Illinois is the other one. And ULM. Wisconsin as well.
No NIU?
All right.
I just don't think having a conversation with somebody is ultimately saying that you have no faith in somebody. I really don't. Because listen, last thing I'll say here, everybody that's been in business knows that you have a conversation. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation. You find out what all parties are doing, saying, and quite frankly, what if the kid's pissed off at Georgia and they can get some intel? You never know. And by the way, I know of teams in the SEC that are paying for kids to come on their rosters just to get intel on other teams.
That is pretty ridiculous if that's
I believe it. Well, first off, the SEC stole it from the Big Ten. I know 100%. Because I know for a fact of SEC teams having kids that have no business playing in some of these high-profile Big Ten programs. They're getting paid ridiculous amounts of money just to give intel, just in case they got to play that team.
I'd believe it. I'd believe it.
It's happening. All right. Before we get to this last super chat, just quickly, JP says Notre Dame 24-13. Howard has 2 picks. Golden.
It's a little too big of a spread. I don't think that they're going to win by that much.
I don't think they're going to win.
If they won, it's by 2 points or 3 points.
I'm not. I literally will quit this show if they win by 11.
All right, stamp on that.
I'm giving. Never mind. Last thing here, Joe Brian Kelly is in the news. He was asked about Brandon Marcello of 247. I talked about this last night, so I'm going to let you kind of take it unless you piss me off.
I'm gonna.
Brian Kelly was asked by Brandon Marcello yesterday, did he want Notre Dame to win the national championship, which he did. Later in the day, Brian Kelly was asked about differences that happened at Notre Dame with collective and different administrative stuff. Then he goes on with Brady Quinn, and Brady Quinn backs Brian Kelly on this. This has kind of gained some headlines, and Brian Kelly has picked Notre Dame to win the national championship. Obviously, he's going to, but your thought, at least publicly, your thoughts on this Brian Kelly ordeal?
Yeah, he's a politician. He's trying to do the thing that he always does, which is try to reestablish things in his favor. 2022, I want to be in an environment.
What do you want him to say?
What he said is incredulous. In 2022, I want to be in an environment where I have the resources to win a national championship. Like this was his statement in the whole thing. This was this week. They're selling it in the way that they want to sell it. Why do you leave Notre Dame? You leave Notre Dame because you're taking on another challenge. I took Notre Dame to championships. It's just the way that they want to twist it. You leave Notre Dame to win a championship. I wasn't leaving Notre Dame because I couldn't win a championship. You can win championships at Notre Dame, but I chose a different path. He's making it seem like folks are out there twisting his words when I'm literally reading a quote that says, I want to be in an environment where I have the resources to win a national championship.
Brady Quinn reported this, then you're going to have to acknowledge that Brady Quinn is wrong then.
Well, Brady is. Go ahead. Okay.
So Brady is wrong about the collective and academic restrictions being lower.
That part, no.
Okay, so hold on. So then Brian Kelly isn't wrong.
No, but that's not what Brian Kelly said. Brian Kelly said
he said
resources.
Backtracked. No, he didn't. Well, first off, he was asked. Second off, you can't say that he's lying when you literally are admitting to the fact that of what he said about resources and academic restrictions going down, and you actually forming a collective being true. You cannot sit here and tell me that that's not factually accurate when you literally are posting that it is accurate.
Okay, that part is true.
Oh, okay,
but
so
again, I'm literally looking at a statement that is in front of me that what he said today or yesterday, whenever it was claiming that his words were twisted. When his just plain and simple statement,
it wasn't his plain and simple statement.
He had the opportunity, if in these opportunities where he spoke to the media this week, he had the opportunity to say things have changed at Notre Dame and I still root for them, blah, blah, blah. I don't think any of us would have batted an eye. But his original statement was he didn't think that he had the one line.
Did you read the entire article? By the way, I have the audio. Did you listen to the entire audio?
Yes, which part are you referencing? He continues
to go on and says a lot of these guys that are still in that team, the coaching staff. Mike Denbrock was in my wedding. I am rooting for him to win a national championship. Why is that shit not in there? Hold on.
That was quoted though in all of the articles. That was quoted. That's
but why is nobody bringing that up?
Everyone's bringing it up. It's been brought up in every discussion about this.
Nowhere on Twitter right now that you could type Brian Kelly, the Brandon Marcello article where anybody is talking about him, by the way, hiring Marcus Freeman, and also a guy that was in his wedding is in there. Y'all continue to be bitter to a man who was asked in a public forum.
Because he literally fucking said, I don't think I have the resources to win a national championship.
Okay, I'm going to end the argument. You ready?
Go ahead.
Notre Dame, since 2000, has not been a place that can win championships like LSU. Sorry, it's not. It quite simply isn't.
I'm not debating that aspect of it.
So then what? Regardless of what your statement is, him leaving to come to LSU, quite frankly, and if he does not do what he set out to do, it will be a failure on him. But
that's not the point.
It is the point.
The point is that he said that he implied that Notre Dame couldn't win a national championship. It's not a matter of
you haven't won one yet. So there's a strong possibility that if you lose, he's right. You're already making an argument about something that you haven't even done yet.
Oh, man, I can't wait until after this game.
You're get your ass whooped. You're arguing about
insane a guy after the game.
You're arguing about a guy saying that I don't think that I could. You literally go quote it back. You said that I don't think I could win a national championship there. Did he or did he not say that?
He did. Blake.
Hold on. He literally is saying that he can't do it. He didn't say that anybody else couldn't do it.
But this is my problem with it, Blake. Wait, stop. My problem with it and why we take issue, and I know that you got to go, but the reason why I take issue with this is the fact that he is trying to backtrack and change his words when I have in writing what the original statement was. It's not about if he was right or not. It's about none of that.
It's still, regardless of how you want to twist it. Joe, has LSU proven that they have better resources to win national titles than Notre Dame? Yes or no?
But in his argument of him backtracking, I'm answering yes to your question. But in his argument of backtracking, he said that Notre Dame can win a national championship. So that's what it doesn't. This is where none of it makes any sense.
Y'all, dude, literally every blah, 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 Brian Kelly's what you tweeted 2 weeks ago. Y'all can't have success without mentioning him. It is soft as fuck.
It's like when your ugly girlfriend cheats on you. Of course, you're going to be wondering, hey, what's my ugly girlfriend, ex-girlfriend
Well, that makes you look like a dumbass because your ugly girlfriend cheated.
No, because you're off to better things. You're dating a much
beta male.
No, it's still beta male shit. Marcus Freeman's not a beta male compared to Brian Kelly. Put them side by side.
Well, I'm calling the fans beta male.
He's got like 6 kids or something like that, I think. No,
I didn't say Marcus Freeman was a beta male. Okay.
He represents Notre Dame right now.
Clarify that. All right. I do got to run.
Okay.
We'll see y'all on Sunday. Y'all have a good one. Peace.